All right, let's talk about computer security, but not in that boring technical way. Think of it more like this. You're building a fortress, a digital fortress, and you have to defend it against all sorts of invisible threats out there in the world. So let's jump right in and figure out what this battle's all about.
In this quote, it just hits the nail on the head. See, cybersecurity isn't something you just set up and then forget about. It's an active, non-stop battle. And here's the really tricky part. The attacker only has to find one tiny crack in your wall, just one, to get in. But you, the defender, you have to find and patch all of them. It's a constant game of cat and mouse.
So, when we talk about computer security, what are we actually protecting? Well, the official definition talks about an automated information system. But let's be real. What that really means is, well, everything. We're talking about protecting your laptop, your phone, the software on it, and most importantly, your data. It's all about making sure your digital stuff stays safe, stays accurate, and is only seen by the people who are supposed to see it.
Any good security plan really boils down to these three core ideas. They're often called the CIA triad. Confidentiality is basically about keeping secrets. Simple, right? Integrity is about making sure your data hasn't been messed with, that it's trustworthy. And availability means you can actually get to your stuff when you need it. The real trick is balancing all three, because if you make things super confidential, you might accidentally make them unavailable to the people who actually need them.
Okay, so you can't build a strong fortress if you don't know who's trying to attack it, right? You have to know your enemy. So, our first move is to get a handle on the modern threat landscape. Let's take a look at who these adversaries actually are.
The bad guys aren't just one type of person. I mean, look at this list. You've got your cyber criminals who are just in it for the money, using stuff like ransomware. Then you have these huge state-sponsored groups playing spy games on a global scale. You've got hacktivists trying to make a political point, and then, maybe the scariest one of all, the malicious insider, the person who already has the keys to the castle. Each one has different goals, which means they use totally different playbooks to attack you.
And all those different adversaries, they launch two main kinds of attacks. Think of a passive attack like a spy who's just listening in on your conversations from a distance. Their goal is just to scoop up information without you ever knowing they were there. But an active attack, that's a full-on assault. They're not just listening. They're trying to break down the door, change your data, and cause chaos. And you need a completely different defense for each one.
Right. We know who the enemy is, we know what they're trying to do. Now it's time to draw up the blueprint for our own digital fortress. And this isn't just about buying a bunch of fancy software, it's about having a real proactive strategy.
And this is absolutely crucial. You have to get this idea out of your head that security is something you can just buy in a box. It's not. The best security is a combination of three things: people, process, and technology. Your people need to be trained, you need to have solid processes and rules in place, then you use technology to enforce all of it. If you're missing any one of those three, your whole fortress is shaky.
So a really solid security plan isn't a straight line. It's more like a circle. First, you do everything you can to prevent an attack. But let's be honest, nothing's perfect, so you have to be able to detect when an attacker gets through. Once you spot them, you have to respond, and fast, to stop the bleeding. And finally, you recover and get everything back to normal. The most important part, you learn from what happened to make your prevention even better, and the whole cycle starts over again.
Now we're getting to the really cool part, how we actually build the walls. The secret here is a super important principle called defense in depth. Let's break down exactly what that means.
Honestly, this is one of the most powerful ideas in all of security. Think about a real castle. It doesn't just have one wall, right? No way. It has a moat, and then an outer wall, then an inner wall, and then guards at the gate. That's defense in depth. It means you build your security in layers, so if an attacker manages to get past your first line of defense, they just run into another one, and another one after that.
And you might be surprised where we start building. It's not with firewalls or antivirus software. It's with people. Why? Because people are the #1 target for attackers using tricks like phishing emails. So your first layer of defense is a well-trained, aware user base. This also includes a critical idea called the principle of least privilege. It just means people should only have access to the absolute minimum they need to do their job and nothing more. The goal is to build a real culture of security where everyone knows they play a part.
Okay, the next layer is process. Think of this as the rule book for your fortress. It's where you write down your formal security policy, what's allowed and what's not. It's where you do regular risk assessments to look for new threats on the horizon. And, super important, it's where you have a crisis plan ready to go for when things hit the fan. Without a good process, all the best tech in the world is basically useless.
And finally, we get to the technology layer. These are the tools, the digital guards and cannons on our fortress walls. This is your access control, making sure people are who they say they are. It's your firewalls, acting as the gatekeepers for your network. It's encryption, which scrambles your data into gibberish so no one can read it if they steal it. And of course, it's your antivirus and other malware defenses. This is the tech that actually enforces all the rules you made in the process layer.
So, after all this talk about grand strategy, layers, people, and processes, what does it all mean for you? You, sitting there right now. How do you secure your own little post on the fortress wall? Let's make this really practical.
Here it is. This is your personal high-impact checklist. These things are not optional. You have got to keep your software updated. That's how you close the holes that attackers are constantly looking for. Use antivirus, use strong, unique passwords, and please turn on multi-factor authentication everywhere you can. Be skeptical of weird links. Encrypt your hard drive, and seriously, just lock your computer when you get up. These small daily habits make a massive difference in the strength of the entire fortress.
You know, if there's one thing I really want you to take away from all this, it's that building your digital fortress is never, ever done. The bad guys are always coming up with new ways to attack, so our defenses have to constantly evolve too. Security isn't a project you finish. It's a permanent process of being vigilant and always trying to get a little bit better. And that kind of leaves us with this big, lingering question. Is perfect security even possible? I mean, if an attacker only needs to find one flaw, are we all just destined to be in this permanent digital arms race forever? It's definitely something to think about while you're out there securing your own corner of the digital world. Thanks so much for tuning in.